the last class, we have discussed about the fractures of lower fracture of tibia and fibula bone. Today, we will discuss about the injury of the ankle joint. The injury of the ankle joint, there are fractures and fracture dislocations around the ankle, and as a group, they are also called Coats fracture. So, these are the ankle injury the ankle injury are one of the commonest injury, second only to the frequency of distal radius fracture. So they are one of the most common injuries. Class में बात करते हैं. So these injuries are common. Commonest injury after the fracture of radius. So as any fracture, before starting with the fracture of injury of the ankle joint, we must learn about the mechanism of injury. Because unless we know about the mechanism of injury, how this injury happens, it will be very difficult to treat these fractures. This is common to any fracture, but this dictum is very relevant when treating an ankle injury, because you have to know, and this is because unless you know the injury pattern, how this happens, it will be difficult to diagnose the fracture pattern and to get proper reduction of these injuries. So that's the importance of these injuries. And before moving further, we must know about some amount of brief anatomy of the ankle joint. So ankle joint is actually a mortise. Ankle joint is a hinge joint with movement in only one place. So it is a mortise in which there is a mortise formed by the lower end of the tibia and fibula, and it is a tenon. Tenon is formed by the talus bone. So they make a quadrilateral compartment, the lateral medial malleus, lateral malleus, and the plane on the lower end of the tibia, and they are supported by the ligaments, lateral ligament, medial ligament, and in between the ankle talus is firmly placed, and any movement of the, except the anterior posterior flexion and extension movement, dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, no other movement is possible unless there is breakage in these structures, either the malleolus break or the ligament breaks. And talus. So when while learning about the injury, we must see that any injury of the fracture, we must see the position of the talus, because whether the talus is dislocated or not, and we must take notice that what are the condition of the ligaments around the ankle joint. They also are important, so they have to be kept in mind. So ankle joint is formed by this hinge joint, and their lateral ligament and middle ligament. Lateral ligament has got three components: anterior talofibular ligament, posterior talofibular ligament, and the central calcaneofibular ligament, that is in between. Medially there is deltoid ligament. This has got two layers, superficial layer and deep layer. This is a very strong layer, ligament, and so strong that more often than not the medial malleus fractures rather than the giving way of the deltoid ligament. So deltoid is stronger than, you can say, medial malleolus bony attachment. So it rarely fractures, only medial malleolus is broken. And thirdly, the tibiofibular ligament, tibiofibular syndesmosis, that is also formed by the four ligament. That is the interossseous ligament, anterior inferior tibiofibular ligament, posterior inferior tibiofibular ligament, and the inferior transverse tibiofibular ligament. So there are the four ligaments that make the tibiofibular syndesmosis, and the tibia and fibula are firmly attached in the lower part, making the syndesmosis. So this brief anatomy is important to know about the ankle injuries. Now moving about the actual, these injuries are common in especially sports activity. But this may also happen in a normal pedestrian who is doing exercise, stumble on the stairs, or any foot being fished in the potholes while running position. So there are many patterns which can cause the injury. So if we know about the mechanism of injury, what the mechanism of injury, what can happen? So there will be abduction injury, your abduction injury, there will be your reduction injury, then there will be external rotation injury with diastasis of the inferior tibial joints. This is also, and next is the external rotation injury without diastasis of the inferior tibial joint. There are also called formation external rotation injury of the tibial joint, or these are called supination, external rotation injury of the ankle joint. So these are four. Fifth, there will be vertical compression fracture by a vertical force, vertical fall from the height. And lastly, there are some uncommon, unclassifiable injury patterns which cannot be classified in particular way, particular groups. So these are the 6 common patterns that can happen, that can cause an injury. So starting from the first one, that is abduction injury. So what happens? Abduction injury, there is a stress. Abduction injury causes abduction force, and there is a stress on the medial structure. Medial structure, there is medial malleolus and the deltoid ligament. So initially, when the injury starts, there is a traction force or traction pull upon the medial structures, and if the medial malleolus breaks, if the medial ligament, that is deltoid ligament breaks, then the force further proceeds, and this force will cause the pressure on the lateral structures. So this will cause a shearing pressure on the lateral structures, and the fibula may break or the lateral ligament may give way. So this is common abduction injury. Abduction injury. This is a very common pattern. And what happens with that? So in complete fracture, we may only see a pull-off fracture of the medial malleolus or deltoid ligament, which is transverse in nature, occurs at the junction of the medial malleolus and the plane of the inferior articular surface of the tibia bone. If then if the pressure really proceeds further, there will be shearing. There will be compressive force on the shearing force on the lateral side, and there will be fibula fracture. This is comminuted. So comminuted fracture of the lower fibula. Outer cortex is always comminuted in this case. Second is the adduction injury. Adduction injury means there is a force, that is inward force, and this injury first presses upon the pull force. There is traction force on the lateral structure. That is the lateral malleolus and the lateral ligament. So if that force continues, the fibula, there is a pull-off fracture of the lower part of the fibula, that is lateral malleolus, and if it proceeds further, it can cause shearing force, apply shearing force on the medial malleolus, and there will be vertical fracture of the medial malleolus, which is tense at the corner of at the junction of the inferior articular surface of tibia and the medial malleolus. Or sometimes there will be deltoid injury, which is not common. Third type of injury is the external adduction injury with diastasis of the inferior tibiofibular joint. In this case, the first thing to fail is the medial structure. So the medial structure fails first, and there is a rotation force. The transverse injury, and the foot here is rotated. Foot is circling around, and the foot is rotation, and there is an injury. Injury causes the medial malleolus to give way. It is also a traction force of the deltoid ligament rupture, and the talus starts rotating in the ankle motus. Talus starts because motus is mainly the motus is free, so the anchoring force has been released. So the talus starts moving laterally, and this lateral movement of talus presses further upon the fibula, and presses further, and there is a spiral rotation, and it pushes on the inferior tibiofibular joint. So there is a breakage of the anterior tibiofibular ligament, and then subsequent ligaments will form the inferior tubercular syndesmosis, and this force proceeds further, and it presses on the lower part of the fibula. But this fibula rotates, fibula gives way, and fibula rotates laterally, and actually there is this force transmitted to the upper part of the fibula, and there is an oblique fracture of the fibula, which may be very much above the inferior tubercular syndesmosis. It may sometimes be near the neck of the fibula. So the injury pattern repeating again. There is a traction failure at the middle side, and talus start rotating laterally, and these forces on the inferior tubercular syndesmosis, and syndesmosis gives way. Then there is force upon the lower fibula. Fibula rotates laterally because it is along the feet. Fibula rotates laterally, and this lateral pressure on the fibula is transmitted to the upper part, and there is a oblique fracture or spiral fracture of the fibula very proximally. So sometimes this may be detected, but if the force stops midway, the fracture, this sequence stops there only. So this will be, there will be only partial fracture, or there will be diastasis of the fibula of the tibial joint, and fibula may be intact. So sometimes this may be confused if we are not taking care. This fibula, because fibula fracture is very high, it may not be visible in the X-ray of the ankle joint. So only by a proper prior knowledge of these things we can diagnose this condition of, because this is stable and there is a gap, and the talus will always gap will be visible. So if there is any discrepancy between the width between the medial malleolus and the lateral middle surface of talus and the upper and the inferior tibial joint, that is ankle joint, then we must take a stress X-ray to know whether there is subluxation or diastasis of the tibial joint or not. Next, infrequency external rotational injury without diastasis. So here the tibial syndesmosis joint is intact, and here the first structure is not visible, but the fibula, actually the lateral structure fails first. So first thing is the fibula breaks, and first of all there is oblique fracture of somehow this talus start rotating, and the fibula, the oblique fracture of the inferior part of the fibula, and after fracture of fibula, the further rotation of the talus causes the pressure on the medial structures, and then there may be fracture of the medial malleolus of the deltoid ligament. So this is the pattern in this fracture. Vertical compressive fracture are uncommon fracture, and they can occur because of fall from the height, and the articular surface of talus is crushed in these cases. But more commonly the talus escapes because the fracture from the height commonly causes a fracture of the calcaneum os, and the fracture in the spine, later dorsal lumbar junction, the dorsal lumbar junction may be affected, and the lower dorsal vertebra or the upper lumbar vertebra may be affected, because that is the position where the lumbar kyphosis turns into the lumbar lordosis and the thoracic kyphosis. At this thoracic lumbar junction, that this change takes place. These are the uncommon. This is not very common pattern, and there are some uncommon unclassifiable patterns which cannot be labeled in a group, and they do not follow any particular pattern. So this is the mechanism of the ankle injury commonly which happens. Now, based upon these mechanisms, there will be many fractures that we can isolate, that distinct groups can be identified, and for the treatment point of view, this has been simplified, and so with this group we can identify a isolated fracture of lateral malleolus. So there is only fracture of lateral malleolus, isolated fracture, because this is commonly because of the reduction injury, and reduction injury only stops only with the fracture of the lateral malleolus. Second is the isolated fracture of the medial malleolus. This is common in the fracture of the abduction injury. If there is some abduction state, then this fracture can happen, and this stops before the abduction force forces upon the lateral malleolus, and the lateral malleolus breaks. So this is the pattern. Thirdly, there is fracture of the lateral malleolus, lateral shift of the talus. This is the pattern, and this pattern may cause inferior tibial diastasis also. Then both fracture of both malleoli, this is displacement of talus. So this may also happen. Fracture of both malleoli may be because the ankle body to be open, and the talus is free to move in the body. Next is the tibial diastasis. Then there will be posterior marginal fracture of the tibia. This can happen when the fibula rotates in the pattern like this, external dorsal injury with the diastasis of the tibial joint, and after producing after injuring the tibial malleolus, this pressure from the posterior malleolus of the tibia, and the tibia posterior tibia will be broken. Then vertical compressive fracture of vertical compressive fracture of lower articular surface of the tibia that we have discussed in the video paper. These fractures may happen, which is uncommon fracture. These fractures are not very common, and they can be classified in separate groups. So now having come to know about the injury, mechanism of injury and the distinct group of fracture, how to treat these fractures. So first thing is to get an epigenetic lateral X-ray, and keeping in mind if there is a discrepancy in the joint surface between the middle levels of the tibia and talus and the inferior articular surface of the tibia, then we must take care to look for a fracture in the fibula high up, high fracture. So after X-ray, if the treatment product, if the fracture is general we should discuss first how is the general treatment. If the fracture is undisplaced, then simple thing is to give plaster for 4 to 6 weeks. Simple thing is plaster, below knee plaster, and that plaster is required to get relief from pain and pain and swelling and other pain relief. But if the fracture is displaced one, then it becomes urgent to bring the normal anatomy to reduction, to bring the talus into normal anatomical place, and the lower part of the tibia fibula, they must be maintaining their position, like they must be parallel to the, and thus they must be firmly fixed. There is no diastasis in them. So this is a principle to keep the talus in proper position, and the articular surface of the around the talus must be equal, must be normal. So the first thing is, so this can be treated by conservative means also or operative means also. But so we give a reduction under anesthesia, and after reduction by firm pressure, a below knee plaster cast is applied, which is kept for at least 8 weeks. About 8 weeks time, 8 to 10 weeks time, it must be kept. And in the meanwhile, after a few weeks, patient can resume weight bearing with the help of support. And check X must be taken. Check X just post plaster, and then after 1 week again, because sometimes after swelling, subsidence of swelling, the fracture may be displaced. So you must check it after 1 week whether the fracture has been maintained embolization, maintained reduction, or reduction has been disturbed. Then we could surely go for the operative treatment. So what are the common complications of the this fracture? Commonly there may be stiffness of the ankle joint. This stiffness happens after the removal plaster. There will be post-plaster removal edema and swelling around the ankle joint, which increases after day activity and subside after rest and night. So ideally, the patient should encourage physical activity, and sometimes the grey bandage of elastic or elastic sock may be used to minimize the swelling, and patient must reduce the pain. Secondly, osteoarthritis. If the fracture articular surface has not been properly reduced, then there may be secondary osteoarthritis, which causes the restricting of the articular surface involvement, and this may be severe, but it develops after a long time, after many months or years. And if it is troublesome, it is very difficult to treat, then in that case, if it is very troublesome, then only treatment available is to go for the ankle arthrodesis, because ankle arthroplasty is not very helpful in and operation may not be so successful. So this is about the complications. Now moving about to one-to-one fracture. So how to treat? So if we start for the isolated fracture of the lateral malleolus, this is simple fracture, and usually they are undisplaced, so or mildly displaced. So we treat these fractures by applying below knee plaster for 6 to 8 weeks, and patient can resume weight bearing after surgery. This is simple fracture caused by mainly caused by reduction itself. Second one is the isolated fracture of the medial malleolus. The isolated fracture of medial malleolus commonly caused by the abduction force. Abduction force causes a pull-off fracture of the malleolus, and the injury stops before proceeding further to press upon the lateral structure. So this will be also simple injury, but here important point to remember, if the fracture is undisplaced, no problem. But sometimes the displaced fracture are not reduced properly. If you reduce the fracture is not reduced, and a fringe of periosteum is very important to remember. A fringe of periosteum from the lower fragment, it intervenes between it goes into fracture gap. In the fracture gap, this small fringe of periosteum goes, and this becomes a hindrance to reduction and hindrance to union. So, if there is gap or displaced medial level fractures, more often than not, it requires open reduction and fixation by oblique cancellous lag screw, which passes upwards immediately from the lower side. This lag screw will give a compression effect, and of course, additional supporting plaster has to be applied. So plaster should be applied for 8 weeks, and then which can be plaster can be removed. In the fracture of the lateral malleolus, is lateral cephalothallus. So this fracture also may be tried by close reduction, but if close reduction is not helpful, then we can go for open reduction and fix the fracture with a long oblique screw part of the interior side and give a support to plaster. If both malleoli fracture is displacement of talus, we must look for the talus, how is the condition of the inferior tubercular syndesmosis. If that is intact, we should do a reduction and fix the malleoli operatively. More often than not, they require operation, and usually fixing the medial malleolus replaces the lateral malleolus automatically. So if we fix the medial malleolus first, and if the fracture of medial lateral malleolus has reduced, we may apply plaster, but there is no harm in fixing the fibula, lower part of fibula also, that is lateral malleolus also, which can be fixed, and plaster has to always apply. Now the tibial diastasis is a different thing. Here there is a problem of the inferior tubercular articulation that also has damage, and that this will make the ankle joint unstable. So here there is no scope of conservative treatment. In any case, operation has to be done, and after operation, taking care of the both malleoli, this tubercular syndesmosis is fixed by a transverse screw, long transverse screw passed just above the ankle joint to fix the, and it passes the fibula to tibia and just both the bones and keep them together so that the ligaments of the lower inferior syndesmosis they heal properly. So this is important particular case where we must take care to fix the inferior tubercular part to prevent any further subluxation of the joint. With this posterior marginal fracture of tibia, what happens when the talus are rotating laterally? Then, if after the failure of the lateral medial structures, it may press upon the talus will press upon the posterior part of lower part of the tibia posteriorly. That is called posterior malleolus. This marginal fracture, when the foot is moving forward, or the tibia is going forward, and talus is pressing backwards, this fracture may happen. And usually this is a small chip from the posterior part, and it is of not very much articular, significant. But if it is more a large fragment, it has to fix. And commonly this fracture, the fracture portion is a step above the articular surface of the lower tibia, and this will make a step. So if it is bigger, then it will prevent of the stability of the ankle joint. So it should be reduced and should be fixed by the screw. This is if the fracture is larger one. These fractures are not common, but if the fracture is mild degree of fracture, it can be treated. It can be treated by conservative measures of plaster, or it can be treated, or if there is scope, then surgical treatment can be applied. But if the fracture is much comminuted, it becomes very difficult, and in that case, only the remedy is to go for the arthrodesis of the ankle joint to heal the joint, to eliminate the joint, and that is the only treatment left for the surgeons. So this is about the bone injury. About one specific thing I would like to let you know, and that is the injury of the ligament, lateral ligament, because injury the lateral ligament of the ankle joint. Lateral ligament and ankle sprain. There can be sometimes isolated injury of the lateral ligament, that is of the ankle, that is all three fasciculi, anterior talocranial ligament, calcaneal ligament in the middle, and posterior talocranial ligament. So this may be injured with an adduction stage. Adduction stage is common in ligament injury, and this injury can be complete or partial. So incomplete injury is called ankle sprain, we so-called commonly injury, and the complete injury. So how to distinguish between two? Because many times we confuse ankle sprain with a complete injury of the lateral ligament. So important thing to know is the degree of pain, degree of swelling and edemosis around the ankle joint, and the swelling and tendon. So these are there is more swelling, and when you try to move the given adduction, try to invert the foot, there is a more movement at talus, angular talus is changed, talus goes bone medially. So the best way is to get a stress X-ray anesthesia, giving a inversion stress will give more opening on the more movement of the talus joint, and if in doubt you can compare it with the normal side. Normal side doing a STS X-ray and the affected side STS X-ray, which will give this frequency will be clear, and this may yeah. So if there is complete injury to the ligaments, we must apply a below knee complete plaster, and this plaster should be changed after 10 weeks if the swelling subsides. Otherwise the ligament will not heal properly. But if there is partial injury, that is so ankle sprain is partially due to only the lateral talocranial ligament. So these ligaments is affected when a plantar plate screw is inverted. So any inversal injury in a foot or with plantar flexion will only cover the lateral, the anterior talocranial ligament will be under stress, and that will be some fibers of this ligament will be broken. So the typical sign to diagnose this is just try to give inversion twist to plantigrade foot in 90 degree of position. So a foot at 90 degree, ankle at 90 degree of 90 degree of flexion is twisted medially. There is no pain, because in this case the anterior talocranial ligament is not under tension. This is like that. This is the calcaneal ligament. And since this ligament is intact, there is not transmitted to the anterior part. But in case of ankle sprain, the moment you try to do plantar flexion and then give an inversion twist, the patient will feel severe pain. So this is typical of an ankle sprain. And the treatment for this sprain, it can be treated by applying a crepe bandage or a adhesive bandage, which is trying to gently invert the ankle and give a crepe bandage, adhesive bandage. But it's better to apply a plaster slab or below knee plaster for 2 to 3 weeks to give a complete rest of the part, and this rest to the part will heal the ligaments, and the patient can resume weight bearing from the beginning. This has help of some support. So this is all about the main ankle injury and fracture of the ankle injury and the ligament injury of the ankle joint. In the next class we will discuss about the other fractures of the talus and fractures of calcaneus. you.